Welcome back, everyone. So, I don't know, but maybe you remember where we were last time. We're still in Word. And last time we learned we can turn on the formatting marks. The formatting marks. And what does Clipit know about formatting marks? Show or hide the formatting marks. What is this? Ah, so yes, they are formatting marks. And you press this button in the toolbar and you can turn them on and turn them off. So let's turn them on again. And let's talk about these marks, because we skipped over some important things. If you notice, here's an arrow mark. What is that? This is a paragraph mark. We understand the paragraph mark, I think. Well, what are these things in between words? What are those things? Well, those dots are spaces. So if you press the space bar, you make a dot. So that tells you, because spaces usually you cannot see, but here you can see them now. How many spaces did you make? You know, because you can count the dots. It's an important tool to understand, because some places, like in the beginning of a paragraph, sometimes you want to use some spaces. Usually 5 was the standard for typewriters. And you could come in and start typing. 5 spaces at the beginning of a paragraph was standard for using a type years ago. But now today, what do we know? We know that in paragraph properties we can set automatically this indentation automatically. Alt-O-P, bring up the properties, and we can set the first line, and in this case to any dimension we want, like 0.3. Say OK. And say I just moved that paragraph to 0.3. If I want all of these paragraphs, everything to have 0.3, I select all of them. Alt-O-P, and now I tell it first line indent 0.3. Well, if I type it correctly, there you go. Say OK. So now they all have this indentation. I don't need this anymore, these spaces. They're no longer necessary because I've set up this already in my document. This is the power of word processing. It's not weak. It's not so much extra work as you had in the past with the typewriter. And that's the whole point of word processing, to make your life easier. There's so many things we can do that in the beginning, right now, it seems like it's too much work, it's harder. But there won't be many more training classes until you understand, oh my goodness, it's so much easier to make amazing documents. Amazing. So, what is this arrow thing? Well, the arrow thing is a tab. If you hit tab, you get an arrow. It's the format mark for a tab. It tells you there is a tab there. Now, why is tabbing important? Well, tabbing is another very powerful tool in the whole process of creating amazing documents using your tab. And we're going to understand this. How can you take tap into the power of the tab. All the keyboards have a tab button. So tab, it was your best friend, you'll see. So, let us work a little more with the paragraph, because the paragraph is a very powerful element, and let's understand how powerful this thing, a paragraph, is. Okay? So I'm going to add some more text to this paragraph, something useful. And perhaps this new information will be important for your future goals. Okay? So this is just some example text, an example paragraph. If you notice, what is happening here? Why is this squiggly line showing up underneath this sentence? Well, when you see it, the best way to answer the question is right-click. So when you put your cursor there and you right-click, Word tells you something. It says, Word says, I think this is a sentence fragment. Try to fix it. Now, this is part of the grammar checking that is always running in Word. Unless you turn it off, grammar is checking it. So you can tell it, well, ignore it for this time. But let's see if we can edit it. So this really looks like it's not a real sentence. So I thought I could fix it with a semicolon. How about a colon? So a colon, it fixed it. So basically, remember there's grammar checking also active, as well as spelling checking. So now we've written more in this paragraph. Let's adjust the parameters of the paragraph, the properties. Alt-O-P. This time, I want to change it, and I'm going to tell it, I want the line spacing to be 8 points, not 5, 8. Oh, I'm struggling to get the keyboard. There we go, 8. So see what happened. That paragraph now is very tight. If I turn off the marks, you can see that it is smashing these lines together. What do? We change the line spacing to a small amount, in this case 8 point. Now, before and after the paragraph, let's add a little more space. 5 and 5. So now you can see we have more space, but the paragraph is now very tight, very compact. Sometimes this is better. Like if you have a footnote at the bottom of a page and you don't have a lot of space, you can come in and compress it tightly. In this case though, 8 points a little too small. We should make it a little bit bigger. 9 point. I think that'll do it. There we go. So now there's less chopping off of the fonts. Right? I think so. Oh, this is an annoying creature. He is. Clip it. So much of a headache. So let's hit the save button. It's very important to save your work. As often as you can, you need to hit the save button. So the next item we want to discuss in the world of paragraphs, obviously, is we need to understand. Let's pull up Alt P. There's this thing called a hanging. Okay, see what a hanging does? It's important. What it does, it's like the reverse of the first line indent. It keeps the first line at the border, at the margin, but then it indents all lines that are afterward. So here you can see Control E, and then it indents them. And this is a very powerful feature, and you can use this when, for example, you're building outlines or other things, or you want to draw attention to the, let's say, the first line or first word in a paragraph. Like if you're making a book, and sometimes some chapters in the book begin with a big letter, like here's a big letter, and you want that C to be large and everything else to be small, right? So here you can come in and you can adjust the font. If you hit right click on that, you select the C and you right click on it, pick font, you can make it a very big font. Say okay. So there you see you've made a big font. You started a new chapter in your book. Well, that's one way of doing it. There's many other ways. We will study them. But this is the hanging adjustment. And paragraphs hanging. I'm going to keep it at first line for now. And here, let's go back to single spacing. It's a little easier to read. So here I want to look at a very important feature of the paragraph. This is what we call the outline level, that you can adjust here in the properties. What happens, say we go to level 3? Well, there was nothing changed here. So how do we turn on the outline level? The way you do it is you have to establish this paragraph. You right click on it and you can pick bullets and numbering. Now there's also a shortcut key. I think it's Alt O N. Exactly. So let me tell you about what I'm typing here. So whenever you have to press two keys together, I put a dash between them. Alt and O, you press them together. Then you can release and press N by itself. So that comma is the separator to set the bullet or numbering style. So again, Alt O N, and here, if you want to use The outline numbering you can use, say, this style. Okay, so here is where now if we use Alt-O-P and we change the outline level, let's say to 5, say okay. It didn't seem to touch it. I'm not sure why. But this is how the tab key begins to provide more power. If you press tab, you can change your outline level based on the number of tabs. So in this case, 1 is the first. But notice at that point I went too far and I lost my outline functionality because I pressed I went backwards with the delete, and now when I enter tab I have deleted my outline formatting. So this is use of the tab, and then this is the deleting of the tab. And there's also some formatting that deleting the tab, it clears. But in this case, Alt-O-N, see, it dropped it. And then we turn it back on, and my next paragraph captures the same properties, Alt-O-N. This is a sub-statement of item 1. This is a sub-statement of item A above. If I have another tab, now it creates another sub-level. So this is a way you can create related ideas that are subordinate to the previous ideas of discussion. For example, puppies is a top level idea. If we delete and we say puppies, yes, puppies are very popular. Alt-O-N, we can set that using this style, and then tab puppies. Puppy chow would be a subordinate thing to puppies, and then poops would be subordinate to puppy chow, because you have to turn the poops. Poops come from the puppy chow, okay? And then there's fleas like to get on the poops or the puppies. Or we should make it associated with the poops. So smelly is a good way. That is something that deals with the poops. Smelly and usually soft, and usually okay, this is crazy. We don't need to discuss poos. Alright, but I hope that made the point. This is the power of outlines, is how you create thoughts and you subordinate those thoughts. Thanks again. We'll pick up from here in the next video.